All right, as I said at the top of the show, Save America, Stop Spending. Joining us now to tell us how to do it, we welcome back Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a pleasure to see you. Happy New Year with your new title. It's a great stuff. So let's start with the beginning of the beginning. Joe Biden wouldn't meet with you, but now he said he is going to meet with you. But then he said he's not going to talk to you about any spending cuts in relation to the debt ceiling. I want to see how you're going to play this. This is tricky stuff. When is the appointment, by the by?
I'm not sure. I know he just met with the Democratic leaders right now. It's just irresponsible of the president not to sit down to negotiate. We're at $31 trillion debt. Every single family in America, when they hit a limit, they sit down and they talk to how to spend. Every business does this. You know, the old Joe Biden in 2011, that's exactly what he did. They actually called him the Biden negotiations. So, you know, since the 1980s, the 8 big moments where we got Grand Rudman and others were all around a debt ceiling. You know this, Larry. The Democrats negotiated with President Trump. We have now hit a point that we can't continue. If your child had a credit card and kept hitting its limit, you wouldn't just keep increasing it. You would first find out, what are you spending on? Look, I'm very reasonable. I'm very sensible. All I'm asking for is a responsible debt limit increase. And that means there's find common ground. Where are we wasting money? Let's eliminate that, and let's put us on a path that we can balance our budget. It will only make our future stronger for the next generation, and it'll make America in a much better position than any place else.
Well, I think I did mention it in the riff. That we had these showdowns down through the years. Most of them worked. They lowered spending and future borrowing. And I do think, Kevin, that if we want to stop the prosperity killers, we've got to stop spending. So, and I think the polls show, I believe the public is on your side here, and the House Republicans. I mean, the polls show almost 60%, 3/5 say, yes, there's got to be some spending cuts attached. I'm just wondering how you feel. The White House, you know, they're leaking to people, well, he's going to come in, he being you. They're going to have a sit down, but we're not going to negotiate over the debt. I mean, if you do meet with them, will you negotiate over the debt?
We have to negotiate over the debt. Our whole government is designed to have compromise. Republicans control the House, Democrats have a small majority in the Senate, and he's the president. He is playing with the financial markets of America by saying he wouldn't negotiate. We've hit the limit, so now we have to June or July. Let's start communicating now and find where we can eliminate the waste, find the common places we get together, and have a responsible debt ceiling that's lifted but puts us on a path to make us financially stronger. And you're right, Larry, the latest poll by Rasmussen, only 24% of America agrees with the president's position, that he's not going to negotiate at all. Does he not believe that there's not $1 that you can find to eliminate waste in government? I mean, they just passed a $1.7 trillion bill that two senators wrote who are no longer here at the end of the year. The Democrats have never passed a budget. And what did they do in the last 4 years? They increased discretionary spending by 30%. $400 billion. You know, when we were in the majority for those 8 years, you know how much discretionary spending went up? Not $1. So yes, we can find a better way to manage this country, and we're at 120% of GDP in our debt. We've never been in this position before except for World War II, and we were funding not only saving America, but saving the world. Right now, we have to save America and stop the spending.
And, Mr. Speaker, the other thing is these little White House weenies, they're saying you're going to cut Social Security, you're going to cut Medicare, and you're going to default on the interest payments on the bonds.
None of that is true. And that's the bad part here, that the first administration said they won't negotiate, and then they want to play politics. Why are they so afraid to sit down to find where you can eliminate waste? I think every household, every business, every state can't go into debt. They have to have a balanced budget. Every city and county. Why do they think they're different? This is why we've gotten this mess. With the Democrats' one-party control, increasing discretionary by 30%, the Senate didn't even pass a budget or appropriation bills last time. So they never told even America where they would spend the money. Why don't we say, before you raise the debt limit, actually pass a budget and tell us where you want money for if you just want to increase it? Wouldn't that be responsible?
I'm almost afraid to ask you whether the Republicans in the Senate are going to give you any help. But I did notice Joe Manchin was out. I don't know, one of the talk shows said he was going to make a deal with Kevin McCarthy. I don't know if Mr. Manchin has that credibility. But it does occur to me, as you get towards the next election cycle, you might pick up some Democrats if you wanted to cut spending as part of the deal.
You look at Tester, you look at a number of these Democrats who are sitting in very tough seats that I think America wants to see some spending cut. But Manchin has reached out. He wants to come meet with me. I've got Democrats who are in the House who believe the exact same thing. I don't know anyone who agrees with the president that we should just raise the debt limit and have no negotiations, that they believe there's no area in government that we can eliminate waste.
Let me just move on while we got you here for a couple of other ones. You know, I'm always looking for HRs. HR 1, HR 2, HR 3.
Oh, yeah. You're going to love them.
One is an HR on border control and immigration, illegal immigration. The other one is energy. I'm particularly interested in, well, I'm saying both. Turn the spigots on for permitting and so forth, and then making the Trump tax cuts permanent. What can you tell us about those desires or fantasies on my part?
Well, you're going to like what we see. We just now populated our committee, so as the bills come out, you'll see that actually take place. Because another way to come to a balanced budget, cut the spending, but increase the growth.
Yes.
If we become economically stronger, if we become energy independent, we lower the price of fuel. What else does that do? It lowers the cost to manufacture, so America creates more jobs. Americans have more money. America's safer around the world, and the environment is cleaner because our natural gas is 41% cleaner than Russian natural gas. When we make permanent those tax cuts, what have we found? Larry, you are so critical in all of this. All those scorings were wrong because you know what? More revenue has come into government than any time before. So more money is coming in, but they're spending so much more. They increased spending by another $10 trillion. So if we increase more revenue, cut our spending, we can get ourselves onto a path to balanced budget and securing our border. Think for one moment, we set a new record just last month, but we set a new record of catching people who are on the terrorist watch list. You can add up all the years under Trump, they never reach what just happened in the last month. But think about, too, the social welfare of those millions of people who have come over, of what it's costing this country as well.
Well, one of your members, I mean, I was looking for the actual sheet, but I think it's Mr. Carter of Georgia. Let me see if I have this right. Yeah,
Buddy Carter.
Buddy Carter of Georgia. There's a lot of controversy. The White House is yelling the fair tax will impose another sales tax on middle-class people, and that you're in favor of that. But I just want to read you what he said. I think he said it today. I've been hearing that this was part of the negotiations, meaning this national consumption tax, that it would be brought to the floor for a vote. But he says, McCarthy made no promises to me, and I don't think he made any promises to anyone. So are you able to finesse the national sales tax? Because it really is a lousy idea.
No, all he did was introduce a bill. For a bill to get to the floor, it would have to pass the committee. And I don't know why. This is what the Democrats, instead of being serious about our problems and finding solutions working together, they want to throw rhetoric out there. They want to scare America instead of telling America, let's find what's best to make us stronger. Let's eliminate our waste, bring more economic growth, become energy independent, secure our borders, bring a parent's bill of rights so they have a say in their kids' education. And you know what? Bring accountability back to government. We should know what happened in Afghanistan those last 2 months. We should know where COVID originated. We should get America back on the path of the direction that we all believe so the next century is ours.
Mr. Speaker, a political question.
Sure.
Biden is, enmeshed in this deepening scandal about classified documents. That hurts him politically. I mean, some people say his own party is deserting him. I think the flip side of that is that helps you politically and helps you drive your agenda through. What do you think?
Well, I think the American people help us drive our agenda, but there's one part is true. I do believe it hurts the president because when you look at all the different people who maybe had documents, right, it is different with President Biden because he is finding documents that he has at a senator. So my question is, as a member of Congress, as a member of the Gang of Eight, I've never been able to remove any document from a SCIF. As a senator, how did he remove the document? How did he take it home? How has he moved it place to place? How has it been sitting out there for decades on end? And think about from his own family, where Hunter Biden is involved. What has transpired here? And I'm sorry. Being in a garage is not secure. Every single American knows they can push one button and the garage door opens. It's probably the least secure place in your entire house. But to think he's having classified documents there, and to think about what he said about President Trump, what he said on the 60 Minutes. And President Trump's document, they knew they were there, they were negotiating, they put padlocks on it. That's much different than what we're finding now with President Biden. And I think it is severely going to cause him a great deal of trouble in the future as we get more of the truth. Because to say you have no regrets, I'm sorry. I would regret every single action that took place that ended up in my garage.
Speaker Kevin McCarthy, thank you, sir. We look forward to talking to you more. Thank you. Appreciate it
Thank you,
very
Larry.
much. You bet.